So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. As usual, we will be discussing Indian Express. We will start with the practice question and then we will move towards the important article of the day. Okay. So let's have a look at the outline. First we will do the practice question and then we will look at the three important articles. That is, Qatar drops the death penalty. Okay, so there was this case wherein 8 former Navy personnel were held under espionage charges. Okay, they were given the death penalty, but right now the court of appeal has dropped the death penalty. Okay, so we'll talk about that, and after that, grassroots finance reforms. So basically, we'll be talking about urban local bodies here and their source of finance and how there are trends going on. We'll talk about that. Then we'll move towards the Chinese proposal on Teesta. So this Teesta river water, or you can say there is a dispute on Teesta's river water between India and Bangladesh. Okay. Now China has given a proposal to Bangladesh. We will talk about that and how it will impact India. Okay. Then some world affairs. Then we'll go towards the practice question. Okay. Mostly we have covered almost all the important articles for your examination point of view. Okay. Here in the front page we have this Qatar court drop that penalty, we will discuss it, and then two in 3 civic bodies post jump in property tax higher than 5-year SGDP growth rate. Okay. So we will talk about the this property tax reforms etc. in the urban local bodies. Okay. So these two articles we will be taking from the front page. Then Israel embassy blast 72 hours later, no FIR yet. Okay. Now moving to the practice question which was given to you. What does the term slippage ratio refers to in banking? So yesterday we talked about non-performing assets and how their percentage has been decreasing. Okay. So in that aspect we have also talked about this term slippage ratio. Okay. Slippage ratio is nothing but the ratio or the percentage at which the loan which are performing good, or you can say the performing loans turns into non-performing NPAs. Okay. So basically when a loan is performing, it means that their interest is coming, their principal is about to return. Okay. But then if there is some condition where the person who has taken the loan has defaulted on the interest payment or the installments etc., in that case we will say that there is a non-performance of the loan. So here when a performing loan is turning into non-performing loan, that is basically your slippage ratio. Okay. So options are the rate at which the interest rates change in the floating rate loan. So there is no relation with the change of interest rate. So that is wrong. Then the proportion of loans sanctions against the collateral. Okay. So this is also wrong. The ratio of cash reserves to the total deposit in bank, that is also wrong. And the option D, the percentage of loans that move from the performing to non-performing status, or from good loans to bad loans. Okay. So you can say option D would be your right answer. Okay. Now moving further, we will start with the first article, that is former Indian Navy men held for alleged espionage. Okay. Or some you can say spy activities. Okay. So there was this charges that they were involved with some kind of Israeli company, or some link were there with the Israel, and that is why they were held under this particular case. And the charges which the Qatar government has put on them were not made public, you can say. Okay, because of the nature of the case. That is why the charges are not yet clear. But the thing is, court has gone for the hearing and then they have given the death penalty to these 8 Navy personnels. Okay. But now in the court of appeal they have dropped the death penalty. Okay. So now we will see what has happened. Former Indian Navy personnel on the death row in Qatar, the appellate court there commuted the sentence. Okay. So they did not actually you can say remove the death penalty. Actually they removed the death penalty, but they have commuted it. Like you can say they have changed the nature of the sentence from death penalty to something else. The whole judgment is yet awaited. So we don't have the exact you can say information, but the thing is, only the one thing we know, that their death penalty has been commuted. Okay. Other than that, we are waiting for the whole judgment yet. Okay. The detailed order of the Qatar court is awaited, but the government of India said that the sentence has been reduced. Okay. So now here when we are talking about Qatar, here you can see this is the location of our West Asian countries, and here when we are talking about these Arab countries, here somewhere is Qatar. Okay, this is your Strait of Hormuz, which is important for us considering the oil trade. So this is the location of Qatar, and when we are talking about our relations with Qatar, they have been friendly, normalized relations are there. Okay, so Qatar counts. Qatar court commutes the death penalty. We have talked about it in the Dahra Global case. The company in which they were working was the Dahra Global, and that is why the case name is Dahra Global case, in which the 8 Indian Navy personnel, former Indian Navy personnel, were given death penalty, and now that death penalty has been commuted. Okay, moving further, families moving to court of cassation. So basically, this is the higher court in the Qatar, and they will go to that particular court, and they are demanding that these personnel should be transferred to India and their trial should be held here. Okay, so family moving to court of cassation, highest appeal court in Qatar. Amir's pardon can be applied post the highest court's ruling. So you must have heard that there are few options, and one option was that is Amir's pardon. Okay, the pardon power with the Amir over there. Okay, so that option can be availed after the judgment of this highest court. Okay, so we are thinking that in next 3 months their judgment will come, and after that there are option for Amir's pardon. Okay. Other than that, these charges remain confidential, as I told you, considering the nature of the case, okay, and the relations between two countries. Charges are confidential. Long legal battle is anticipated, but the optimism persists with the support from Indian Navy and Ministry of External Affairs. Families are hopeful that officers return to India with ongoing support. So right now our priority is that first priority was to actually remove that death penalty, which we succeeded. Now our priority is to bring them back to India, and as per rule of law we will be trying them. Okay. Now moving further, the next article is 2 in the 3 civic bodies post jump in the property tax higher than 5 years. So basically here we are talking about civic bodies, or you can say urban local bodies. So you know that after 73rd constitutional amendment we have this Panchayati Raj system, and after that another constitution amendment we have that municipalities, etc. So ultimately we have a third tier of government in the local level, and we can say that there is a local self government in India. Okay. So when we are talking about the source of finances for these local self bodies, they are limited. Okay, there are some subjects on which they have these financial rights, but ultimately those that area is not very vast. Okay, so they have limited source of you can say finances or their revenues. Okay. After the application of GST, most of the taxes were substituted in the GST, and state government has been benefited by that. Okay, so even further reduced in the revenues of these particular local self bodies, and one such tax is property tax. That property tax is a huge you can say source of revenue for these local self bodies. Okay. So let's see what they are talking about here. So over the past 3 years, a silent grassroots finance reform has been taking shape, with at least 70% of the total 4,900 urban local bodies in the country reporting increase in the property tax collection. So basically we are saying that there is a increase in the property tax collection. Okay. Why is that? Because when we are talking about the source of income, one is that you can directly go for the tax. Okay. So these local bodies can impose tax, that is one thing. Second is state finance commissions will be giving some kind of share in the revenue of the state. Okay. Second and third is grants by the central government, grant and aid by the central government. So central government will also give some kind of grants and aids. When we are talking about such funding coming from the central government, they are tied to some conditions. Okay. Here you can see rupees 1 lakh crore in central funding is tied to property tax reform in the coming years. Okay. So here what is happening here is that there are some conditional grants, or you can say some conditional funding from the center. wherein it is said that whenever you are going for such reforms, you will be getting funding according to your performance on that reforms. Considering that there are silent reforms going on in the property tax collection, and because of which there is a rise in the collection of this particular tax. Okay. Urban local bodies have many revenue sources, but once these merged with the GST, it was state which benefited. As I told you, after implementation of GST, few of the subjects of these taxes has been given to the state government, okay, not municipalities. For local bodies, property tax is a big revenue source, but politics stalled any hike in the tax rates. Obviously, whenever there is a rise in tax rates, that is unpopular measure, because people will not like any kind of rise in the tax rates. Okay, so that is there because of the political scenario, or you can say popular demands, etc. This tax hike has not been happening. A carrot and stick approach has been used by center to incentivize these local bodies to increase the tax rates. How that is using the conditional, or you can say tied funding. Okay, they have tied the funding with the performance on the tax reforms. So basically, because of that, they have this incentive to go for the higher taxing. Okay, so a carrot and stick approach incentivizing increase in the tax with the more funds advocated by the Finance Commission 3 years ago seems to be slowly bearing fruits. So we can say that this particular approach which is used by center right now has been yielding results. Okay, so here you can see grassroots finance reforms. 70% of the urban bodies saw increase in the property tax collection in last 3 years. Okay, so that is a huge chunk. We can say 3,417 out of 4,771 urban local bodies shows increase in the property tax collection in 2022-23. That is also a increasing trend. You can say over lakh crore. Over 1 lakh crore central funding tied to property tax. As I told you, there are tied funding or conditional fundings. Okay, so when center is giving them this particular funding, they have tied it with the tax reforms. Okay, now Finance Commission has recommended few things. Rupees 1,21,000 crore recommended for urban local bodies for next 5 years ending 25-26. So these were the amount which has been actually recommended by the Finance Commission, and the criteria was that urban local bodies must show property tax collection growth. Okay, on the basis of efficiency in this particular indicator, they will be given these funds. Okay, now carrot and stick approach has been used by the central government, that is conditional funding or tied funding, incentivizing tax rates increase with the more funds. The aim is to increase urban local bodies to become financial entities, or to, you can say, self-reliant financial entities. Okay, so you don't have to depend on the funding from out, let's say state or from the center. You can increase your own funding by the sources you have. Okay, now there are challenges, that is outdated database. When we are talking about lands reforms, etc., property is related to land, and when we are talking about land, we have outdated database. Okay, undervaluation of the property is a problem. Okay, weak tax administration, and then suboptimal tax rates. Okay, since tax rates are not up to mark, that is why central is asking them to increase the tax rate on the property. Okay, now moving forward, when we are talking about the transparency and the public disclosures. Okay, so in the urban local bodies, now recently they have started this cityfinance.in. Okay, this website, you can say, they have started, wherein you can get the transparency of the details of the finance of the city. Okay, disclose financial data of the urban local bodies on this particular website. Okay, this has been launched in 2020, and it move is aimed at bringing the financial details into the public domain. That is basically to enhance your transparency. Ministry is standardizing auditing accounts, digitizing records for the transparency. Okay, auditing and digitization of the records has been advocated by the ministry. Okay, challenges we have discussed already. Now moving to the third article, will gauge geopolitical issues over Chinese proposal on Teesta. Okay, this is what Bangladesh government is saying. Okay, hold on. So will gauge geopolitical issues after election means here that China has given a proposal on building a barrage or dam on the Teesta river in Bangladesh. Okay, so they are saying that we will cooperate with you on building this infrastructure here. Okay, now problem is Chinese presence in this particular area. Okay, because India is quite skeptical about it. Okay, we will see why. One term is there, that is hydro diplomacy. Hydro diplomacy is quite important term when we are talking about international relations. Diplomacy related to water. Okay, now here we are talking about water sharing between Bangladesh and India with respect to the Teesta river water. Okay, there were earlier this issue has been old. Okay, since the treaty of friendship has been signed with the Bangladesh, we had this ad hoc mechanism wherein we will divide the water. Okay, after that with time we have kept on talking about it. In 2009 we have come up with an agreement which was to be signed in 2011. But the West Bengal government at that particular point of time resisted, because most of the, you can say, the Teesta is lifeline for West Bengal, northern West Bengal region. Okay, most of the farming activity or the drinking water demands has been fulfilled by the Teesta river over there. So Teesta river is quite important when we are talking about Bangladesh, Bangladesh as well as West Bengal. Okay. So now West Bengal government was not in favor of that agreement. Okay, we have a federal system, and because of which that agreement could not be signed. Okay, considering that this issue could not be resolved at that particular point of time, so it is still persist. Right now we have a pro-India government in Bangladesh, so talks are going on, and there is not much tension between India and Bangladesh. But there are elections, and after elections there is this proposal which has been given by the Chinese government that they would like to participate in the building or setting up of this particular barrage or dam on the Teesta river, which will fulfill the water needs or storage needs of the Bangladesh people. Okay, so in that regard, now India has an issue with that, because this particular river is in the proximity of the Siliguri corridor, and Siliguri corridor is strategically important for us because this is a pathway to northeastern region of India. Okay, so if any other country has a hold on Siliguri corridor, it will be detrimental for our strategic interest. Or when we are talking about a country like China, which is aggressive in nature, if it has a presence anywhere near Siliguri corridor, it would be detrimental for us. Okay, so that is about this particular article. We will talk about it. And when we are talking about hydro diplomacy, China is a water scarce country. Okay, China has a population nearly, that is 16% of the world, but their water requirement could not be fulfilled by the amount of water they has, that is 7 to 8% of the water available. Okay, so that is why naturally it is a water scarce country. Okay, so now China needs the water somehow. Okay, so when we are talking about Brahmaputra, China storage of Brahmaputra is mainly in the Arunachal Pradesh, because when we are talking about 70% of the river is in China. Okay, but the thing is, it is in the adverse geography where they cannot perform this storage activities. That is why this area of Arunachal Pradesh becomes important. So that is why you see that China is quite aggressive in Arunachal Pradesh as well. Okay, they want to have a control of that particular area so that their water needs can be fulfilled, and that is why here hydro diplomacy plays a very important role. Okay, same is the case in the Bangladesh, when for there this Teesta river is important. For West Bengal, for India, Teesta river is important. Okay, but now presence of China here will make things more complicated. So let's have the issue, look at the article. Bangladesh on Thursday said that would take into account the geopolitical issues over Chinese proposal to build reservoir on the Teesta river that enters into the country from India. Okay, so let's take a look at the river. So it originates somewhere in the Sikkim, and from Sikkim it is a tributary of Brahmaputra river, and here you can see from India it enters somewhere here in the Bangladesh, and in Bangladesh it merged with the Brahmaputra. Okay, so they are trying to build a dam or reservoir somewhere here. Okay, so that is how it enters through India into Bangladesh. Okay, now moving ahead, the China has expressed willingness to extend cooperation on the development of the work on the Bangladesh part of Teesta. As I told you, they are trying to build a river. Now India's reservation here is that this particular area is near the Siliguri corridor. Here you can see, sorry, here you can see this area is basically Siliguri corridor. This here in this map, these are the north eastern states of India. Okay, so now this is the mainland India, then this is the only land mass which is connecting this bigger land mass with the mainland. Okay, so that is why this area is quite important for us, because if someone else or any other country which has a control on this area, which can choke this our communication with the northeastern country states. Okay, so now China here, already you know that in Doklam they have made issue. Okay, so Doklam is a tie junction of Sikkim, Bhutan and India. Okay, so from there they tried to enter this area, but that was not they could not successfully do it, and now they are trying to build a dam over here. The presence of China here in Bangladesh would be a problematic thing for India. Okay, so that is why India has some kind of reservation with this particular act here. Okay, here as I told you, in somewhere here they are building the dam, and this is the Siliguri corridor in the vicinity of it. Okay, so now India's reservation over China's involvement in the major project near its strategic Siliguri corridor, or you can say Chicken's Neck. Okay, now Teesta water sharing agreement between India has been in talks since the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina came into power in 2009. As I told you, from that particular point of time there was talks going on, and an agreement was set to be signed on or you can say in 2011, but West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee opposed the treaty suspending the proposal deal. Okay, so that could not happen at that particular point of time. China in 2020 proposed a major dredging work on the Teesta and building a reservoir and embankments in the Bangladesh side. Okay, but Bangladesh at that particular point of time they have kept it on hold. Okay, so now if China comes there, it will complicate the geopolitics of that particular area. Okay, so that is about this particular article. Now we can move further. We have discussed the maps related to that. This is Teesta river, it is tributary of Brahmaputra, and it enters in Bangladesh through India and then meets in Brahmaputra in Bangladesh. Okay, so that is about it, and this is your Siliguri corridor or Chicken Neck. Now next article is US allies reluctant on Red Sea task force, only 12 out of 20 countries willing to join. So we have talked about this multilateral task force in the Red Sea area to patrol regarding this Hamas attack which has been happening. Okay, now USA says that there are 20 countries which are willing to form this task force, but out of them you can say only 12 name they have mentioned. Other than that, when we are talking about countries like France, Italy, Spain, all these countries are saying that they will not be part of this particular task force. Okay, why they are doing that we will discuss in this particular article. Okay, so this is your area, this is Saudi Arabia, this area is Red Sea, this area here is Red Sea. Okay, now here you can say these are the point of conflict wherein attacks has happened. Even near the Indian coastline, you can say of the Porbandar coast, they have done one attack, a drone attack over here as well. Okay, so considering all these things, USA has said that we can go for a multilateral task force which would avoid all such activities. USA has started doing it, but only 12 countries name they have mentioned. Other than that, they could not. So let's see. So US President Joe Biden hoped to present a firm international response to Yemen's Houthi attack on the Red Sea shipping, which we have talked about, that this Houthis are trying to make some kind of chaos in this Red Sea area. They are saying that they are supporting Hamas. Okay. A week after its launch, many allies don't want to be associated with it publicly or at all. Okay. Operation Prosperity Guardian. This name would be important for you in your prelims. Operation Prosperity Guardian. Okay, so remember this name. This is related to a multilateral task force which has been formed by USA in the Red Sea to prevent the attack of Houthi rebels on the shipping jahaz, or you can say shipping entities over here. Okay. So Operation Prosperity Guardian, Italy and Spain is issued a statement appearing to distance themselves from the maritime forces. Okay. Other than that, Italy, Spain and even France is saying that they will not be engaging in that particular thing. Okay. The Pentagon says that the force is a defensive coalition of more than 20 nations to ensure free flow of billions of dollars worth of the commerce in that particular area. They have mentioned 20 nations, but in their statement they have only disclosed 12 nations. Okay, but nearly half of these countries have so far not come forward to acknowledge their contribution or allowed the USA to do it. Okay, so they have announced only 12 names. Okay. So this reluctance, why this reluctance is there? Because when we are talking about the USA's stand with respect to Israel, USA has given unconditional support to Israel. Now the problem is Israel has responded disproportionately in Gaza Strip, and that is why there is a resentment world over against Israel, and these countries are considering that, and they are saying that they would not be go with USA on that particular front. Okay. Now natives of USA, UK and France has shot down Houthi launched drones in this area. Okay, but that is native you can say navies, not of the under this multilateral alliance. Okay. So the Red Sea is the entry point of ships using Suez Canal, which handled nearly 12% of the worldwide trade and is vital for the movement of goods between Asia and Europe, which we have discussed many a times. Now Italy here is saying that Italy's defense ministry said that it would send a ship to the Red Sea following request from the Italian ship owners and not as a part of US operation. So they are saying that we will send a separate ship for that, but we will not be part of this US operation. Okay. Similarly, France said it supports the effort to secure freedom of navigation in the Red Sea, but its ship would remain under the French command. Okay. Their ship will be remaining under the French command and not under the US operation. Okay. So that is the second country which is saying that we will operate on our own. Then Spain has said that it will not join Operation Prosperity Guardian and opposes using of existing anti piracy infrastructure which is there with respect to European Union. European Union has an anti piracy mission over there. So they are saying that their infrastructure cannot be used for Operation Prosperity Guardian. Okay. And it is willing to consider the creation of a different mission to tackle the problem. Okay. So Spain is saying that that already existing infra of European Union with respect to anti-piracy mission will not be used under Operation Prosperity Guardian, but they are willing to make another task force like that, another mission like that. Okay. Then Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates earlier proclaimed no interest in the venture. Okay. Obviously they are supporting the efforts by the Hamas, or they are vouching for the humanitarian aid and the cessation of the violence in that particular area. Okay. So they have some kind of sympathy with the Hamas, and that is why they are saying that they are having no interest in that particular venture. Okay. So that is about the Operation Prosperity Guardian. So this is not yet a full success. Now US maintains Cold War mindset China after breakthrough military discussions. Okay. So recently we have talked about one article which says that China and USA are again going for the military discussions. Okay. Out of that military discussion, this result has came out that China has said that USA maintains Cold War mindset. Okay. So they have criticized its continuous meddling in the Asia Pacific region. It maintained a Cold War mindset. By Cold War mindset, they mean that it wants to create hegemony of itself or USA. Okay. So the United States continue to strengthen its Asia Pacific deployments. This is full of a Cold War mindset. Its goal is for its own strategic gains and to continue its hegemony. That is what the statement made by the officer of China's defense ministry, you can say. Now the thing is, we were thinking that there can't be any kind of you can say development which will show that USA is going towards China. Okay. But China here is not willing to do that. China again is saying that they are criticizing US in their efforts. They have said that Asia Pacific to be on high alert as USA step up forward military deployment in the region. So basically USA is going for some kind of military deployment in the area from where the atomic attack has been launched on the Japan in the World War era. That is, US plans to revive a Pacific airfield that launches atomic bombing of Japan. Okay. So USA is trying to revive that particular air base, and that is why they are concerned about it, and they are saying that Asia Pacific to be on high alert. Okay. So nothing concrete came out of this particular talks. USA is still hopeful, saying that they are in talks with China. They want to collaborate on the information. They are saying that there should not be any miscalculation, okay, to avoid any kind of further escalation in the relations between USA and China. Okay. So now moving further, Das says, Shaktikant Das, governor of RBI, says that economy resilient, RBI to act decisively to prevent risk build up. Okay. So in this article, they basically talk about the condition of Indian economy as of now and how RBI's focus is on going for the stability and not for the numbers. Okay. So here you can see Indian economy and the financial system remain strong due to the robust macroeconomic fundamentals. Okay. That is you can say growth, inflation, etc. Supported by the healthy balance sheet of the financial institutions. Okay, banks are performing well, and then moderating inflation. The pressure of inflation is also moderating, and the fiscal consolidation. Okay, on the front of fiscal, on the front of banks, India is secured. So that is why they are saying that Indian economy is quite resilient at this particular point of time. RBI emphasizes its commitment on preventing risk. That is, they are trying to maintain stability. Okay. So when we are talking about the retail loans, etc., so they are trying that if there is a risky loan, don't go for it. Okay. So there are various mechanisms in the bank which says that which are trying to maintain the non-performing assets to the minimum and risky loans to the minimum. There is a trend of increasing unsecured loans, but they are trying to do some work regarding that as well. Now, non-performing assets, which we have talked yesterday as well, they are at 3.2%, that is multi-year low. Okay, and there are chances that by 2024 we will be seeing a 3.1% of that, even improvement in that. Okay, but in the severe case, if something goes wrong, that can go up to 4.4%. Okay. India remains one of the fastest growing major economies and supported by the domestic demand and sound policies. Okay. So these are all these things are saying some kind of positive trends in Indian economy. Okay, so we can say that when we are talking about the global perspective or the global front, economies are not doing well. Even the economies like China are not doing well. Even USA is struggling for the funds, etc. So here you can say that India is doing well on that front. Key policy priorities include price stability. Okay, that's sustainability, financial sector resilience, and inclusive and green growth. So ultimately they are saying that our focus is on all these elements, that is price stability, debt sustainability, financial sector resilience, inclusive and green growth. Okay. Now on the global front, they are saying that there are some issues which is faced by the economies at the economies of the globe, that is slowing growth, which you can say China is suffering from it and other countries also are suffering from it. Then high public debt. Okay. Economic fragmentation, geopolitical conflicts, all these geopolitical conflicts when we are talking about, all this Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Hamas war, okay, issues in Red Sea, all these things are ultimately having effect on the economies. Okay. Other than that, when we are talking about the global economy, it has not, you can say properly revived from the COVID's effect as well. Okay. The supply chains are not yet properly maintained again like that, and countries are going for the alternatives for that as well. Okay. Now, that is about this particular thing. In this article, they have also talked about one thing. Here you can see this: SBI, HDFC and ICICI Bank remains systematically important banks. So here we will see what are systematically important banks. Okay. So there are some banks, they are too used to fail, because they cannot fail. If they fail, it will have an impact on the whole economy. Okay. So such institutes are systematically important for us. They are too large to fail or too big to fail. Okay. So here let's have a look. RBI has retained SBI, State Bank of India, ICICI and HDFC as domestic systematically important banks. So as of now, we have three systematically important bank for in our domestic economy, that is SBI, HDFC and ICICI. SBI, HDFC, ICICI. Okay. These banks are considered as too big to fail. Some banks, due to their size, cross jurisdictions, complexities and interconnectedness becomes systematically important. Okay, so the network they have, the reach they have, because of which if they fails, they will ultimately hinder the growth or the economic parameters. Okay, these systematically important banks are perceived as banks that are too big to fail. This perception of too big to fail creates an expectation that in case of any kind of distress, government will come forward and help these banks. Okay, because of which there are two things. Okay, these banks are subjected to additional policy measures, because since they are too big to fail, so there are additional policy measures to make sure that there is no there are buffers which has been created in case of any kind of distress. Okay, so there are additional policy measures to deal with the systematic risk and the moral hazard issue. Okay, so we'll see what is systematic risk. Systematic risk is the risk associated with the collapse or failure of such companies or banks or industries. So whenever there is some issue which can lead to the failure of such banks or the collapse of such banks, such failures will be considered as systematic risk. Okay, and moral hazards are somewhere where these institutes knowingly go for some activities because they have this confidence that government will provide help for that in case of distress. Okay, so they are taking a risk knowingly that government will come for the rescue. Okay, so such hazards are moral hazards. So we have to prevent such institutions from systematic risk as well as the moral hazard, and that is why there are additional policy frameworks so that they do not go for any kind of collapse or failure. Okay, so right now in India we have SBI, HDFC and ICICI. Three banks are systematically important and too big to fail. Okay, now moving further, this Telecom Act does not give government power to break encryption, says IT Minister. Okay, so these Telecom Acts has been the new Telecom Act has come, and we have discussed the bill, their provision, the act itself. Okay, so now there were two questions which has been raised regarding the does government has the power to break the encryption. Okay, so now government is saying that this act says that if there is some kind of controversy or something, we will ask the companies to block the mobile numbers. Okay, but we will not we don't have the power to go and ask them to break the inscriptions. Okay, so that is one thing which he has made clear, that government does not have power to ask service provider to break the inscription or intercept, as it is not part of the terms and condition of the authorization. Okay, so they are saying that in the bill as well, in the act as well, they are not part of authorization, and that is why we cannot do that. Government does not have that kind of power. The only power government has is to ask service provider to block the fraudulent numbers. Okay, so that is clear on that front. And then there was criticism related to definition of the telecom services. Okay, they are saying that definition is vague. You will ultimately include the OTT platform also. Okay, so with that regard, there was a question whether OTTs will be regulated by the Telecom Act or not. Okay, here the IT Minister has said that telecom services are related to carriers which is related to the transfer of the information. Okay, so telecom services related to the carriage, which is the domain of Department of the Telecommunication. If there is a communication, that is or you can say there is a transfer of information, that is the domain of Telecommunication Department. Okay, when other than that, when we are using app, that falls in the domain of Ministry of Electronics. Okay, whatever applications or apps which are using in the mobile phone etc., it is a domain of Ministry of Electronics and IT, that is METI. Okay, and then when we are talking about the content related issues, that is the domain of Information Ministry. Okay, Information and the Broadcasting Ministry. And the FinTech, okay, financial technology related applications which we are using, that is part of the Financial Ministry, and the applications which we use in e-commerce as part of Ministry of Commerce. Okay, so they have different domain. Okay, our domain is only the transfer of information or the carriage of the information. Okay, so considering that, we will not regulate the OTT platforms. Okay, so they have answered these two questions which are important for this Telecom Act, that is the government does not have the power to break the inscriptions, and government will not regulate OTTs. Okay, now what are OTTs? I'll give you a look. OTTs are over the top platforms. Okay, so mostly when we are talking about some application etc., we are using out of the conventional system of business etc., such things are OTTs. Okay, So OTTs are of different kind. When we are talking about videos, we have this Netflix, Prime Video. These are OTT platforms. And then when we are talking about media, we have this Facebook, etc. These are also OTT platforms. These messaging apps like WhatsApp, Twitter, all these things are OTTs. Commerce, Amazon, Flipkart. And then for audio, these Savan or Spotify, these applications are OTT platforms, and government is saying that these are not domains of us. Only the information, the carriage of information is domain of Telecom Ministry, and Telecom Act does not give power to regulate the OTT apps. Okay, so that is what the Act about, and we have talked about it. Now we'll see a question for your practice, that is, among the listed banks, which one is not typically designated as systematically important bank in India? Okay, options are SBI, ICICI, HDFC, and Axis Bank. Okay, this question looks very easy for you because we have discussed it. Okay, but agar if in case it comes in your exams randomly, that becomes very difficult at that particular point of time. So that is why you should remember that there are only 3 banks. Which of them are there? Okay, considering that, you can answer this question and comment in the box given below. And for your mains, we will be having this question, that is, discuss the geopolitical implications of the challenges surrounded in the Teesta River water sharing dispute. Okay, we have talked about it. So here you can say geopolitical importance they are asking about. Okay, so here we can talk about the countries like Bangladesh, India Bangladesh relations, India Bangladesh border, and then this Siliguri corridor, etc. Okay, other than that, we can also talk about hydro diplomacy, because this is part of your geopolitics. Okay, and then question is how China's proposal regarding Teesta makes concern for the India. Okay, so here we have discussed what was the proposal. You can mention the proposal, and then you can tell about the concern for India related to Siliguri corridor or development of the northeast region of India. Okay, so all these factors you can include in your answer. Okay, so for your prelims question, you can answer in the comment box, and for your mains, you can try and writing an answer which will cover one topic from your syllabus. So with that, I'll wrap up the session. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.